Welcome to 100% Canucks. I'm John Shannon with Landon Ferraro. Today's guest, Patrik Allvin, will join us in a few moments. Landon, before we get to Patrik, a couple things jump to mind to me. And in listening to some interviews of some NHL players in the last 3 or 4 days, I'm starting to hear that some of these guys are back on the ice already. It's when would you when you came, either whether you're playing in North America or playing in Europe, when would you go back on the ice?
When I was in North America, I'd start like twice a week at the beginning of July. And then as I got to August, it would get into a lot more, but early July was more just feel the puck, just kind of keep your hockey ability really there, right? Like, because it goes so fast. You step out on the ice after even a couple days and your hands feel off. So just trying to maintain through July and then really get going in August. But like I've been coaching here in Vancouver during the week, and the amount of college, junior, some pro guys jumping out, like they want to be on the ice as much as they can, and they're working at stuff right from now. Like the mentality of in my age, it was all about the gym. That's all that mattered.
Right.
And now, like, it's shifted so much to, of course, the gym is so important, but you got to be able to be a player. You got to be able to improve. And the skill level of, of the average NHL player is, it's jumped exponentially over the last, handful of years. So, like, those guys, it seems like they go on earlier and more often now.
So that was going to be my question. This isn't necessarily a case of conditioning, but it is a case of timing. Is that fair?
Timing and skill work, right? Like the amount of
but seriously, when you're an NHL guy, you're 23 or 24 years old. What level of skill do you need to work on? You've got those skills.
It's unbelievable watching it. Like you think that you talk to especially one of the higher skill guys, like you talk to them and there's still pieces all over their game that this can get a little cleaner, this can get a bit quicker. Like it's the reason Sidney Crosby is at the level that he still is, because he always looks for something to get better at. And, for one kid I was talking to last night, he's a 17-year-old. And for him, like for the next 3 weeks, all he wants to work on is his release. He's like, I'll work on my hands as I go through the drill, but every time I shoot a puck, I want to make sure it's as quick as I possibly can. Even if it flubs away and it's not a good shot, he's like, by the time September rolls around, like I want my shot to come off cleaner and crisper in tight areas, right? So that one little thing will take him through summer while he's working on the rest. But that's always in the back of his mind. And that's just one kid playing junior. Like all these guys are so much more specific now. Like when I was playing and you get into summer, it was, all right, let's, pass, shoot, skate, work on, going around some stuff. But you just kind of did it and made sure your conditioning was up. Like, again, the skill level is so much higher now that even fourth liners that you look at and you're like, oh, they only played 6 minutes last night. Well, you put them on the ice and let them really play. Like those guys have incredible skill. It's just, it's put next to a Elias Pettersson or a Quinn Hughes doing it. So it, it looks like a big gap, but those guys are constantly trying to get better and better for when they can have that little opportunity, they can show that they can do more.
Before we get to Patrik, what did you make of Adam Foote meeting with some of the leadership group?
I loved it, right? Like, I think that's one of the better things that has really come into the NHL over the, call it 8 years or so, of how it's more about relationship. It's not coach versus the team. Like and not even just hockey, like business in general, like from your top to your bottom, everyone has to be on the same page. Obviously, the guy at the top has last decision, but like it needs to be, a bit of a co-op, everyone working together. They know what the messaging is. They know that they're working to one common goal together. So Foote getting together, especially with, Demko, Hughes, and Pettersson, like those are your 3 biggest pieces, and they're from 3 different positions. So if you get them all on the same page and working the same way, all of a sudden now the forwards are following Pettersson, the D are following Hughes, Lankinen and Demko are working together in tandem. like that makes a really cohesive unit. And coming off a rough year last year, I think that really is going to get the ball rolling for training camp to start on a high tempo and not try and figure some things out then.
That truly is the definition of strength down the middle, isn't it?
It really, really is.
We will talk a little bit about development camp after we talk with Patrik Allvin, who has been kind enough to give us some time today. That's Landon Ferraro. I'm John Shannon. Patrik Allvin next on 100% Canucks. Welcome back to 100% Canucks. That's Landon Ferraro. I'm John Shannon. Now joined by the general manager of the Vancouver Canucks, Patrik Allvin. So, Patrik, we are 4 days into July, 4 days into the new business year. How would you assess you came out of free agency, and what do those kids that you drafted look like at the prospects camp?
Well, thanks, guys, for having me on here first. 4 days in here in July, and free agency. It's you never really know what's going to come out of there. The amount of players in the UFA pool this summer, a lot of them signed with their teams prior to July 1st.
Like three of your guys.
Yeah. Some of them expressed that Canada was not a preferred destination. So overall, we were as much as we were looking at the center options, and we still will continue to explore what's out there and see if there's something that over the next while here will materialize in the offseason, or if something needs to be done in season. But I was very, very pleased to get the three guys on the contract, and Brock Boeser being the last guy there, want to come back, and having those three core players was big for us, not just this year, but also moving forward here with the culture and the standard and how Adam Foote wants to play and what those guys contribute to the Canucks and to the community here as well.
I'm curious on the Boeser situation. Had he signed before midnight, he could have signed for 8 years.
Yeah, and I think that again, I respect that he earned his way to free agency, and he wanted to explore, and it was probably not an easy decision for him. Never closed the door. We always continue to talk, and I'm sure he talked to teammates. He probably was aware that Garland and Demko was coming back on extensions, and Adam Foote reached out and talked about some tweaks with the way we want to play, the excitement about the core players that Adam has been talking to, and I think that was a term and number where, in the end, it worked really well for both Brock and the team.
Well, so like you said at the beginning there that, some guys didn't want to sign up in Canada, the preference is the States. Like, how important is it to have guys that want to be here? Like Brock really, guys always say they want to stay, but you could tell how much it meant to him. Like, how important is that as you're trying to build that culture?
Yeah, I think it's really important. I also think they want to stay for the right way, the right things. What's going on? They like the vision. They like where the team and the organization is heading. Their relationship and connection with Adam Foote and what he has started to do here as well was important. So I still think the players believe in the dressing room. They believe in the way we started to build our foundations and the way we want to play. And with everything that went on and all the injuries last year, I think we probably were 3 wins away from being in the playoffs, or 4 wins away from being in the playoffs. So it's the period of the league. It's tough.
So you also mentioned that you might still dip your toe into the free agent market. And this is not at all to be a disservice to Philip Hedl, but I would suggest to you that Hedl might be a better number 3 center than a number 2 center. Is that fair?
Well, I think if you look around the league and the centers are priority how you build your team around it, and I think Philip Sheedle is still young. He missed some games. I think he has intangibles to play higher up in the lineup, and definitely the skill set to do so. I think, if I got it right, I believe he had a year where he had 60 points.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And I think if you go by that, I think that's probably in line with some of the other second line centers out around the league. But if you're thriving to get better, and if you can find something that fits the criteria of a second line center, I think you might have the best top 3 centers in the league if you have Sheedle on your third line.
Correct. Yeah. No. Maybe that's kind of the point I was trying to make. What attracted you to Evander Kane?
Well, he's a different, like, I would maybe he's a unicorn in the league right now, where the game is going and what's coming, but a little bit of an old school power forward. First, for a player at his age, missing the full year last year, stepping in the playoffs and contributing the way he did was in my opinion very impressive. So that being said, he was able to recover. He's fresh and healthy. Every coach want to be harder to play against, and in this particular player with Evander, I mean, he has the ability to score goals, push the pace, and being really hard to play against. I think he will help our team in that regard.
Like Adam Foote, had the meeting in Detroit with Hughes and Demko and Pettersson coming over. How important do you think it is having all of those 4 especially, but what that trickles down to the rest of the group, really having one message and everyone being on the same page?
Yeah, I give Adam a lot of credit right away there, how he approached each individual, and he felt it was important to get to those 3 particular players and in terms of building the leadership from there. They had a great couple of days there playing golf, talking about a lot of different things. And from there, he moved on to the next phase of bringing more players to be involved in this leadership. And they continue to have Zoom calls and communications. And I think it's really important and for the players too to feel part of it. I think Adam has the experience where he won cups as a player and being part of a strong core and strong culture. And Adam has I wouldn't say a unique skill set, but he has a ability to communicate with different personalities. And I think that was one thing that stood out for us in the interview process, and how Adam was very detailed and ready and prepared. And I've seen it over the 2 years here, how it goes beyond and how the players respond and respect him as well. So absolutely important to get after the team right away here.
And then just kind of building off that one as well, speaking to Pettersson in particular, how important, you guys have said you're really happy with how the summers has gone so far for him and what he's doing. But for him to show that willingness to come over right away on a short call to meet up with the players and with Footy as well, just having him really all in right now, how big is that for your group?
Oh, that's huge. I mean, there is very few players in the league that are capable of doing what Petey could do. I mean, from 2019 to 25, I believe he's at top 6 in points. And I think that when he showed up there with no hesitation, I think that encouraged the rest of the group as well. Because if we get Petey back to the level of what he's capable of doing, I think that he will drag the rest of the group with him there. So he's been extremely excited. Great conversation and relationship with Adam. So so far I'm very pleased where he is.
Is he healthy?
He's healthy. Yeah. I talked to my medical staff here. We'll finish up the development camp, and the medical staff said that if we had a game tomorrow, every single player on the roster would be available to play.
So on a different angle, how important was with what Abbotsford did in the American League? How important was that for your franchise, for your organization?
Very, very important. Very happy for the Canucks fans around BC, around Abbotsford and Vancouver. The buildings were electric. Landon did the games, watched the road games on TV. It was excellent.
Do not tell him that stuff. It's going to go to his head, Patrick.
Yeah. We're 2 for 2 now. Yeah. I'm getting compliments all over. This is the best podcast ever.
No, that was great, and it's great for the young players to have that belief and understanding that, hey, if we do the right things, the good things will come with it. And I'm happy for the fans that they have the belief and being part of winning, and the fans out in Abbotsford and the support were amazing. The building, it was electric out there. So you all winning is like, we talk about development, and I think, in my opinion, winning is part of the development.
So, but the other part of that is, for some of the guys on that roster, some of them are gone already. Let's face it. Let's be honest. After July 1st, but there's supposed to be a carrot for them. The carrot is that they can get to the next level. Are you of a belief that some of those guys, like a Bain and like a Carlson, have a chance to be full-time Canucks over the next couple of years?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, in the end of the day, the players will dictate that. But in order to do so, they need to get an opportunity to succeed. And that's something we talked about here as well, to put players in position to succeed and open up roster spots for them. And I think we have built up a pretty good pipeline here where young players feel that they get better here in Canuck system, and they're getting an opportunity to play.
And on the other side of that is what Manny did, and how Manny fits into this organization in the short term, and how does he fit into this organization on the long term?
Yeah, no, I think, again, my staff, I think you as a staff member, you always need to have an awareness if something goes down with a coach, or if a coach moves on, like who's the next man up, who are the up and coming candidates. And that's what Ryan and I talked about last year, with Manny obviously being familiar with the Canucks and his personality and the characteristics there. And I think Manny did a great job working with the players, but also it's just not one guy. I think Manny and his coaching staff and Daniel and Henrik Sedin, they all contribute there, and so did Ryan Johnson and building the roster down there. Mm-hmm. So we're very thankful for having Manny in an organization, and I believe that he will one day get to the level that he wants to be, and that level is the National Hockey League. I mean, he's been an assistant coach for 7 years, so he wants to learn, he wants to grow, and become a head coach.
And then for you personally, I believe you've been in the NHL since the 02-03 season, starting scouting, and then you kind of built from there all the way to where you're at now. Was the goal for you always to be a GM, or did that kind of just build to it as you went along?
Yeah, a good question. I said I never asked for this. I was fortunate to work with good people, good organization, and I just continued to do my job and work and try to contribute when I could. And very fortunate to get the opportunities after opportunities to move up. I never asked for it, but I never said no. I love challenges and new opportunities, and again, extremely honored and thankful for an opportunity to be general manager in the Canadian market for Vancouver Canucks.
On that, where do you see your strengths?
I do think that I'm fairly open-minded. I'm a pretty good listener, taking information. I believe I'm good to evaluate players, and I believe I'm good empowering my staff and holding my staff accountable. I do believe in in having a process and a plan and empowering your staff. It's easier to hold them accountable.
With that in mind, how frustrating was last year?
I think it's you go through different pockets of the season where it's never a linear way to get to where you want to. It's a building process, and obviously it's frustrating when you have key players injured. We had a lot, but I never think you use excuses. I think you look at it with opportunities for younger players to come in and grow. I think for me, there was some more frustration of how we couldn't find consistency in our game. We had very few games where we can go on a run and win multiple games together and kind of build up. We seem to be, 1 or 2 game wins and then 1 or 2 game losses. I think we went on a run there just prior to the break, and we were 7-1-1, beat Toronto at home, and I think we were in the second place in our division for playoffs. And then for different reasons, obviously Demko and Quinn was injured right after the break, but we couldn't find our game back then.
Like from day one of taking the job in Vancouver till now, is there one thing, or is there something that you've had to have really adapt your thinking with the most?
I think every day is a new challenge, and I think you have to come in fresh every day to kind of always find ways to be better, like find ways to improve your team, find ways to be creative in different ways, and challenging your staff. I think that's the one thing that Jim Rutherford is very unique in that area. So I always want to talk about players and ways to improve our team.
That's an interesting response when you consider that everything that happens in this league, you almost have to think for now, for next year, and for the year after, and the domino effect it has, with the cap and with where the money's going and whose contract's up next. And obviously at the top of that list is 24 months from now when Quinn Hughes will be a huge topic of discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something we were doing here. I wouldn't say every day, but almost every second day. You're looking at projections. You're looking at your roster 2, 3, 4 years out from here. Where is the cap? Where is some of the contracts going to be? Where are some of the younger players that might be ready? And what are those numbers going to look like? I think that's part of hockey management's day-to-day work nowadays.
I don't want to get you in trouble, but can you imagine an 84-game schedule? 82 is awfully long, Patrick.
Yeah. And there will be, even with the Olympics this year, a more condensed schedule and tougher for the players, and definitely adding 2 more regular season games next year. So you need depth. You need a strong farm team. You need make sure your draft picks are developing well and being ready down the road.
So on that topic, how big was it then to get Demko extended and you have your two goalies in Lankinen and Demko locked up long term with the workload? Like how important was that for your group?
Well, definitely important. I believe, and I said it, I think we have the best goalie tandem in the league when those guys are going. I think Thatcher, when he's healthy and playing, in my opinion, is a top 3, 4 goalie in the league. And to hear him what he wants to do and where he wants to be and how he believe in this group, for me that was we from both sides we started to work and it was a fairly quick path to a contract here, so that was great.
The so what do you tell Arthur Shelovs? What do you tell Arthurs when you because I agree. I mean, Lankinen and Demko put you in a great stead. But correct me if I'm wrong. Shelovs will need waivers next year.
Correct. I mean, first of all, Art is a young and extremely good goalie. I mean, he was MVP in the American playoffs here and outstanding. Played at the highest stage for Latvia. Will be on the Olympic roster. We'll probably we'll see you here over the next couple of weeks to make a decision if we carry the goalies into camp or if there is a decision made prior to it.
The other thing for me is, when you look at Evander Kane being on this team, Dakota Joshua hopefully is going to be, as you said, 100% healthy as the season started, as the whole roster is. And then you end up with Conor Garland, you have Keith Sherwood. You're going to have a lot of sandpaper on your team.
Yeah, definitely. We feel our bottom six makes our team harder to play against. In the bottom six, you have guys that can kill penalties. We also have a bigger guy that was a top scorer in the American League playoff here, Linus Karlsson, that is definitely fighting for an NHL spot too. So I think we have a good mix of speed and skills in our top six, and speed and size and gritness in the bottom six there.
For the young guys that you talked about before, and you just touched on a few, like when they're trying to make that jump to the NHL and be a full-time guy, what do you think's the biggest hurdle to overcome? Is it mental or is it physically playing? Like off your side, what do you think?
Yeah, great question. I think, well, first you're going to earn your opportunity, and that comes with trust. But I do think the mental part plays into it. The hardest thing in the National Hockey League is the consistency and learning how to play the same way, and also understand your identity and the role you're going to do. I think that's where the coaches and the development staff here with Danny and Hank are so important of how you communicate and how you kind of build up the younger players so they feel comfortable, they feel wanted, and they also understand what the coach wants.
Before we let you go, anybody jump out a development camp?
Well, I was impressed by a lot of players there. There were, but obviously our first round pick, Braden Coots, stood out there. Great personality. You can tell that he's been a leader in a young age and the skill set he has. Medvedev, the goalie from London Knights, very athletic, great personality, just energy around him. Couple other guys that were coming back. Aldrichson played in the OHL last year. Played I think played 1 or 2 preseason games for us last year. He looks ready. Our 7th round pick that were part of Rimouski. Swiss kid Sansonens. He's going back to play pro hockey in Switzerland. I think he added 20 pounds since his draft year, and now playing at 225, I think, and 6'4", and skates really well. So it's definitely some intriguing pieces there.
Landon, you got anything else?
One last one. Did you find your way going up the gross grind, or did you make sure that you had a meeting when the prospects went up?
I always have a meeting on that day. My kids now want to do it this weekend here, so I might be forced to try it there. Dan and Hank wanted to have evidence there, so I might have to take a picture and send them.
I still can't believe how well they do that. I mean, they're amazing.
They are the perfect human beings. We're very fortunate to have them around.
Well, it's going to be an interesting summer, and based on what you've said, Patrik, you still got a little bit of work to do, correct?
Correct. Never ends.
No, that's right. Well, try to enjoy some summertime in BC where the sunshine is so good.
Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.
That's Patrik Allvin, the general manager of the Vancouver Canucks. Landon and I'll be back on 100% Canucks after this. All right, Landon, have you done the gross grind?
I have done it. The worst part now is...
Let me rephrase that. Have you done the gross grind more than once?
I've done it more than once, but I will say it's been over 10 years since I've done it. There's a certain point where I'm like, you know what? Just not for me anymore. And the sad part is I live 10 minutes from it.
That's not that sad.
It is when I'm like, I should still be getting out there and doing it. But like, you take those first couple steps and you're like, I'm literally running up a mountain right now. Like not figuratively, like you're literally running up a mountain.
That's what when you see the video of Daniel and Henrik, they're getting up to the platform and just another day at the office.
The best part of that is the fact that those two give all the prospects, I think it was a 7-minute head start this year, and they're still beating them.
Yeah.
Like, it's unbelievable what those guys can do.
All right, development camp. What'd you make of it? What should we make of it when you consider that none of these guys are making the hockey club, and this is an investment in the future?
Yeah, like I remember... Like my age, I'm a 91, I'm going to be 34 this summer. Like my age after getting drafted was kind of the first ones to really, every team had a development camp, and they were a lot different then. It was all like, we're going to show how hard it is, and we're going to really push you through a lot of work. Now it's more, and I think it is better off your point of none of these guys are making the team out of camp. They're not playing here this year. For them, it's about, for the first year guys, it's about coming in and getting comfortable in the environment. And obviously you're learning and working with the Sedins and Michael Samuelsson and Komisarek and Jason Krog. Like all those guys are on the ice and they're a wealth of knowledge. So you're trying to, pull in as much as you can. But I really do think it's more about getting to know the trainers, getting to know how and where the dressing room is, and how, like walking around, getting around it, and just really being comfortable for the time that training camp comes. They're not, their heads aren't spinning off their head. They already kind of have that base, and they understand what's expected of them. What they can work on through the rest of summer is a big one. For the guys that are 2-3 years, they're in their second or third development camp. It's about taking all that information you've learned over the past couple and going to training camp and doing that and helping those first year guys out. And that's really the first time. It's funny, I never thought about it as a player, but as you look at it now, like that's your first time to really see like what are these kids' leadership qualities like? Mm-hmm. Who's the leader, and is he forcing it, or is it just come natural to him? A guy that you might think might take charge really likes to kind of be a backseat guy and just go about his own business and follow through. So like there's so much knowledge to pull out of development camp. The on ice is kind of the extra. Like no one's going to blow anyone out of the water in a development camp or completely fall off the prospect pool. Like that's not there. It's more, I think it's really more about everything else.
Well, in so many ways, the Canucks are like every other team you talk to, and it's starting to build pride on the logo, starting to build pride on being a Vancouver Canuck. And when you put that sweater over your head and you look down and you see you see the sea and you see the whale and you go, yep, I want to be part of this organization for a long, long time. So it's almost it's the start of an indoctrination.
Yeah, I mean,
when they go back to Europe, they go back to their junior team, they go back to college, they will become Vancouver Canucks first.
And then on top of it, because we are talking young kids, they get a taste of what the NHL is.
Yeah.
It's always been an idea to them, but they just got a taste of what an NHL dressing room looks like, how they get treated, the food, all of it. And then they go back to wherever they're playing and they're like, I really would like to get back to that spot because that is, I mean, there's nothing better than the NHL. So just getting those guys that little bit of taste, like the amount of excitement they'll have going back to their home and getting back in the gym and getting on the ice to literally start working to get back to Vancouver. Like it starts right now.
What did you make of Patrick's comment early in the interview about still getting pushback from some players not wanting to play in Canada?
Yeah, I mean, like,
did it surprise you?
I no, it didn't really surprise me. Especially as the game has grown more and more in the States. There's bigger markets. There's obviously different taxes in different parts, and
don't bring up the taxes.
Whole nother story that I'm not going to pretend to have a full handle on either. But like there's a lot of things where coming up to Canada, like you have to have a different mentality. You have to be a bit of a different person to really want that pressure. Like the guy that, there's a lot of them, they just re-signed, obviously Boeser and Hughes has that, and Demko. But like the guy that comes to mind is like a Conor Garland. Mm-hmm. And like his scrappiness on the ice, but like he's a well done veteran in this league now. He's been in a bunch of years and accomplished. He just won a world championship. Yet, like, he still has that chip on his shoulder, and he doesn't care what the outside noise is. He just pushes forward. Like, that's where I think it is a bit different in Canada. Like, you have to be able to deal with everything else that comes with it, where in a lot of U.S. markets, that's just not there. Like, I remember the first time coming to Vancouver as a visitor, doing media in Boston even, which is a big market. Detroit, they love their hockey team. But there'd be one or two microphones in front of you. And then you finish morning skate in Vancouver and there's 7 or 10, right? Mm-hmm. Like it without changing anything other than just crossing a border, the care level really goes up.
And you're going to get recognized if you go to Walmart. You're going to get recognized if you go to Costco. You're going to get recognized when you go to dinner.
100% you are.
That is just a reality of what it's like to play in our country. And you know what? Some people like it, and some people live for it, and other people, some really good players, just say, no, I want to be able to become a phantom when I leave the arena.
Yeah, and like I do understand that to a certain point, but to me, and again, I never got to that level, but at the same time, like that was always what was in my head when I was playing in the backyard. Like it wasn't to be playing for a team that doesn't get much media coverage and all of this. Like you're playing the Stanley Cup final in your backyard. You get the winner, and now all of a sudden there's media everywhere. Like it's this massive thing. Like that's the pinnacle of sport. If you can win in Canada, I mean, everyone says it forever, but like, again, I just can't wait to see when that happens again, just to see what that looks like. I haven't seen it in my cognitive years. Montreal won when I was really little, but past that, like I haven't seen a Canadian team win. What does that look like? I've seen in Vancouver when they get to a final and what that does to the city, going through the excitement, the buzz, all of it. Like there's no way to replicate that.
No, and it will happen.
It will happen.
It will happen. We're just not sure when. Thanks for this, Landon. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, sounds good. Have a good one.
You too. Thanks for listening to Patrik Allvin of the Canucks, and thanks for listening to this edition of 100% Canucks. We'll talk to you in 7 days.